Welcome to another crash course in Warframe. Today's focus is on the frame that is the face of Update 10, Nekros, aka Bone Daddy, apparently. This gangly gentleman, who represents death, decay, and general unhappiness, is actually a fully loaded support class. Now, as you'd expect, Nekros isn't the type of support that'll be dishing out buffs and feel-good mushrooms to his teammates. As a matter of fact, this guy's abilities are very much self-serving. They just so happen to also support those around him. I mean, come on, the guy isn't here to make friends, because look. Friends. Stats-wise, there's nothing particularly special about Nekros. He has base 50 armor, 100 HP, 100 energy, but only like 90 shields. It's like they just wanted to make him just slightly below average in something. I think DE's taken the whole unassuming loner guy everyone knows is slightly off, but turns out to be a ruthless mass murderer approach, because in the real world, that kind of makes sense. Now, his first ability, Soul Punch, is his only direct damage dealing offensive move, and it also comes with a handy debuff where it removes 5% armor from the target, and it stacks. Hey, viable endgame mechanic, what's up? It also does a fair amount of base damage that is not mitigated by armor, and scales nicely with focus, and of course a nearby Rhino buff, and the punch recipient will ragdoll into other enemies, doing damage to them. Not a lot, but you know, it's something. It's also worth mentioning that it's a hit scan ability that will not trigger unless there's an enemy in your sights, making it impossible to miss, a little difficult to use in a crowd, but it also allows you to get the killing blow, which you'll need for his ult. More on that later. Now, even if it doesn't kill an enemy, it will knock them down for a second, giving you an opportunity to get away, like for example, if you're face to face with an ancient. And the thing is so cheap, you're gonna be spamming it all over the place. You might as well just bind it to your left mouse button. Next up is Terrify, which is a straight up fear with a range of about 20 meters without stretch, and somewhere in the range of the entire solar system with it. Actually, it's about 28 meters, but that makes a huge difference when you take into account that it goes through walls, ceilings, floors, etc., making it pretty handy when clearing out of choke points. It also has what seems to be zero cap, or at least I've yet to find a large enough pool of enemies to reach it, but I've caught it somehow missing a mob at random, usually when I'm not hosting, so, you know, sometimes it happens. And currently, it can't be recast until it wears off, or you kill every mob afflicted, but I'm fairly certain that this will actually change, though. You're definitely gonna find this thing handy during defense missions for clearing melee off the node, or when you need to res somebody, or just basically when you need a no shit button. Just keep in mind that during the 1.5 or so seconds you're casting this, you are not invincible. Now, side note, the tooltip says that you could do extra damage to these guys that you feared, but unfortunately, I've not been able to really replicate that. When it was initially released, I could have sworn that it was doing like double damage on these things, but right now, I cannot replicate it for the video, for anything. I have a message out to DE. Hopefully, they'll take a look at that. I already know they're gonna be redoing this crash course next week anyways, because changes are gonna be coming down to hopefully Desecrate, which is Nekros' third ability, has to be the best support skill in the game. No, I'm just kidding. The skill is so lackluster, it hurts. I mean, the idea of getting more loot from a mob is awesome, and in some situation where the team desperately needs energy or health, it can totally save the day. I've been there, I've done it. But assuming, of course, you actually get the energy orb or the health orb. You get health orbs all the time. Assuming you actually get energy orbs instead of, like, you know, sniper ammo and a plastid. Its biggest pitfall, though, is that you have to cast it on a body before it disappears. And in most cases, we're talking 3 to 4 seconds. And that is assuming that there's even a body left. We all know that every team will have at least one frame with an ability that vaporizes your shit, leaving you with nothing to work with. I'm 1000% certain this thing's gonna get modified drastically or even replaced altogether. So look out, like I said, for crash course updates in Warframe 2.0 for Nekros next week or sometime soon. Now, his ultimate ability, Souls of the Dead, in my opinion, is awesome. It isn't a freebie, clear the room, get out of jail free ability, though. You actually have to work for it. The genius is that you can actually selectively build a squad with it. Here's how it works. You kill a mob, then cast Souls of the Dead. A nano clone or whatever of the mob appears and fights on your behalf with all the same skills and mechanics, most of them anyways, that its living counterpart had until it dies and or expires. In most cases, though, you're gonna max out around 6 to 8 souls, depending on your mod loadout, but I've had instances, especially with the Infested, where I've spawned somewhere between 10 and 12 Ravagers with some runners mixed into the thing. It gets pretty insane. And also, they also do a pretty good job of seeking out the Infested. I don't know, for some reason, they're like pointer dogs. They'll actually go and hunt things down for you, whereas the Grenier, they take cover, and they just sit there. Now, I did say you have to work for it, and by that I mean that you have to get the killing blow on the enemy, like I said before, in order to add it to the lineup, so to speak. This is great because, you know, like I said, you can customize your own mini army, but it also sucks because you have to get the killing blow, and that's not easy in some cases. But here's a tip, Soul Punch, use it. get an enemy low, and then punch him in the dick. Problem solved. I'd also like to note that each soul draws aggro the same way you would, making it function similar to a CC where it gets the heat off your teammates. And each soul also has mass for when you need to, bring up a whole bunch of souls in the middle of a tunnel to troll your friends. In summary, desecration aside, Nekros is a good frame. He has a defensive crowd control, an offensive crowd control, and a direct damage ability that also has a stackable debuff, making him viable in practically every stage of the game. He is very much a support class, but can have trouble filling that role depending on who is on his team, as I mentioned, of course, with the Souls of the Dead needing killing blows. And my initial statement of Nekros being self-serving also means he makes a formidable frame for solo runs, especially with Terrify and Souls of the Dead, which at times acts as deployable cover. He is also one of the coolest looking frames, especially when you dish out an extra few bucks for the proprietary dreadlocks that were in the concept art, but they never said that we'd get for free, and that arguably complete the look, which is awesome because the next frame we see, we'll be able to place bets on which body part will be sold separately.